Welcome to the Early Morning Risers Club in the Napa Valley. And what I mean by that is harvest usually starts at all hours of the late evening to early morning. In this case here, we started at midnight harvesting, which is kind of the norm for our crews right now. Harvesting, so that way we can make sure we get all our tasks done prior to the warm temperatures that we've been experiencing for most of this harvest period. We started harvesting in 2015 on August 3rd. It's been a very challenging harvest in many regards. We've had a little freak rainstorm that came through about 2 weeks ago that dumped a quarter inch, half inch of rain, and some wineries allowed picking to still continue in the early morning, and some wineries just shut down all the picking together. So again, it was just kind of a winery judgment call. Seems like in the last 2 to 3 weeks, actually since the first part of September, when we had our heat wave again, really escalated the sugars and the maturity, and wineries kind of jumped on the bandwagon right after Labor Day to get harvesting and in earnest. What is really also kind of interesting this year, most of the Cabernet for our clients had been harvested prior to finishing Chardonnay or even Merlot. Some vineyards, the yields are lighter than anticipated, some are lighter than normal, and some vineyards have come in exceeded over the estimate. But the biggest part of this harvest for me is the fact that we have a good team effort. We have a great team effort between hauling the fruit to the wineries on time, on schedule, as well as everybody fitting in and doing their parts and operating the light towers, the mechanic to make sure everything continues to run for the next day. We've been trying to encourage our crews to use the hand shears for picking versus the knives, because we notice that with especially like Cabernet and some of the more sensitive varieties, with the jerking motion of the knives, that a lot of berries kind of rain down onto the soil and do not make it into the picking harvesting pans, whereas the shears, they have an opportunity to cut that cluster and actually guide it into the pan, and a lot more fruit going to the winery. And it's kind of a win-win-win situation, because obviously the harvesting crew doesn't get paid for fruit that's left on the ground, i.e. berries and stuff, and then the wineries also get more fruit and make more wine, than the growers actually end up getting a little bit more in their pocketbook as well. We think there could be somewhere between 200 to 300 pounds of berries that are left on the ground for the birds, the dogs, whatever, that come in and scavenge it up. What we're finding with the use of the shears as well is a lot less sliced fingers from a curved knife or something like that, or up in the wrist, or maybe the person on the other side of a vine, because the shears in the hand are working really close versus the knife going back and forth a lot. So again, I think for our perspective and our point of view, if we can start using more shears, if we use more shears for harvesting, and like I said, there's a variety of them. Companies make different shears and things like that, but my recommendation is get something that's got a good blade. It's just like any other tool. You want to make sure you buy quality and not worry about the price so much. As far as the light towers are concerned, it's kind of a custom design that I have been thinking about for a couple of years. And so we had built one light tower last year to be mounted on a tractor with a generator. And that way it's self-sufficient. And one of my goals was to make sure that it would be at least go down a 6-foot row, because we do have a lot of 6-foot rows, and we have a lot of vineyards that have actually wider cross arms, so a narrow tractor is still the most efficient thing to put into that particular vineyard. And this year we built 2 more, and at the rate I'm going, I think I'm going to build at least 1 or 2 more, but we make sure that they're on a fairly good stout tractor to support the weight. We're finding the LED lights are very bright. They cast a lot of light down for the workers, as well as the use of the headlamps. Once they're on, ready for transport, they're locked down with a bolt mechanism, so they can't swing out into traffic. And basically put it on any equipment trailer you need to go and move it to the next vineyard, or if you're close by, you can road them down to the vineyard. But we I spent a lot of time on the concepts and took some time to get it from my head paper to the actual building of them. For the harvesting in these little boxes, which is very common for some wineries, and if you have the experience, it's not a cumbersome deal. When the pallets come to the field, there's 96 empty boxes nested together. We do not pre-scatter the boxes out in the field. They stay on the trailer, and the crews pick up empty boxes, they harvest, bring them back to the trailer, and there's a swamper person who stacks the boxes, and there's a pattern that they have to stack in order to do it right. And we can get 48 full boxes on a pallet, and that's about 3/4 of a ton. And as you can tell, that the level is just right below these inner lips where they will be resting on top of each other, so therefore the fruit is not getting compressed, squeezed, or smashed prior to going to the winery. And then at the top of the 8th stack, these ganchos, crabs, spiders, metal configurations tie all 6 boxes together. And then when the truck driver puts his V-boards on and his straps across, he wants to make sure that strap is going across the center of this, so that holds everything together and you don't have boxes on the highway flying off the truck. And then this particular winery will go ahead and have it run through the optic sorter machine, and the optic sorter machine will discard any fruit that doesn't meet the criteria at all. So that's the whole idea, is that these boxes can be relatively full, because the next box that goes on top will actually sit like that. So there's still space between the fruit for no smashing of the berries or the juicing. Every ranch, every block, everything that's all here in a code. In this case, it's Cabernet Sauvignon, and this is the ranch name, and this means cordons. We are picking cordons, and also canes today. Tells us which tank it's going into, and then we just write on which crew, so that way the picking crew gets the credit for the pallets they've picked, the boxes they've actually picked.